One podcast
between you and me.
between you and me.
So today we've been absent for a minute, so this is, I guess, our comeback story.
Life has been lifing.
Yeah, life has been lifing, bro. Hey, life's been lifing for me too. It's been, well, this is a new week, man. It was a long week for me.
Last week was a long week.
Yeah, it was a long week. I mean, it was far more. There was far more going on than I ever anticipated would be going on. But anyway, all at the end of the day, man, everything worked out well. You know, we live.
Same with me.
So, yeah. So we talking about boundaries.
Yes,
We're
boundaries.
talking about boundaries. And boundaries, I mean, we're going to talk about boundaries, I guess, from a perspective of being um, self-imposed boundaries for ourselves, boundaries that we place on others, that kind of thing. And like I said, it's been sort of like the theme of my week. I've been doing this devotional, and the title of the devotional is How to Find the Relationships You Need in Your Life.
Mm-hmm.
And so it talks about, just different types of relationships. It talks about intergenerational relationships, and it had one thing it hasn't covered is romantic relationships, but it covers every other type of relationship. But one of the days it talked about boundaries are an act of love. Boundaries are an act of love, and
That's interesting.
that was interesting. You know what I'm saying? That was interesting, and so I think I want to start out by let's explore that boundaries are an act of love, because in most cases I think people consider boundaries as being an imposition on others.
Boundaries are active love. So you just wanna? What are my thoughts on that?
Yeah, just jump in. I mean, can you see how that could be the case?
So I can see that being a case in a few different ways. The first way that I kind of saw like boundaries could be an act of love is boundaries could be an act of self love,
Yeah, okay, I get that.
an act of taking care of yourself, and it's crazy. I have a lot of thoughts running through my head, but just boundaries, setting boundaries with others, it can be a form of self love for yourself. It's a form of respecting yourself,
hmm
and not going past your limits, knowing what your limits are, and not allowing other people to move you off that. So I think that that's respect and love for yourself. Other way that I could see that when you're talking about from a relationship standpoint, any kind of relationship, any form of relationship, is just like I set the boundary here. I'm letting you know where I stand on this now because I don't want to end up having a problem with you.
There you go. Yeah.
Right? I want to keep the peace. So I'm not setting a boundary to be like, like I'm not trying to like push you away or none of that. Just I'm letting you know I have respect for myself. I would just ask that you respect me as well because I like kicking it with you, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I want it to be good vibrations over here. I don't want us to have any problems. So I just want to let you know ahead of time instead of you doing something and I hadn't told you or allowing something to continue until it boils over for me and that would becomes an even bigger problem. I just want to keep the peace by letting you know where I stand on where I stand. So yes.
And I'm gonna tell you, I'm feeling that. And when you say that, and then I'm having all these pictures going through my head. Like I'm thinking about the game of football, right?
Uh-huh.
And you got an inbounds, you got an out of bounds, and it's established before you ever step on the field.
Right.
And so if you establish that before you ever step on the field, you know when the game has stopped because you stepped out of bounds. You know when a point is scored because you stepped over the end zone or the bound line. You know what I'm saying? You know when you got a first down because you got checkpoints or boundaries 10 yards at a time. And I think that is so good when we look at it from a relationship standpoint. It's not necessarily about keeping score, but like you say, I mean, I'm showing you respect because I'm letting you know before we even get started in this game, like that's out of bounds for me. And
Mm-hmm.
for me, I like to tell people I'm stubborn. It might be a bad thing, but I got to admit who I am, and I'm stubborn. And so I don't want something to happen that I know already how I'm gonna react to it. You know what I'm saying? Because I know me.
Right.
And so I want to let you know ahead of time that if that happens, this is going to be the result of that
This would
happening.
be the outcome.
And so
Right.
we need to work within the realm of understanding that we keep it from going there. because if it ever goes there, I know innately how I'm going to react. And so that's what I see as a point of love, because it's like I'm not telling you, um, oh man, if you ever slap me, then we through. It ain't that. It's like if you ever slap me, you gonna make me so mad, I'm gonna shoot you. And so let's just please not get to a slap. You know what I'm saying? Just it's that kind of thing. So that's what I'm saying. It's communication. It's letting people know where we stand before we get to a point where um you do something to me. It's funny because you just said something about, because you know how I cut people off. Like, I'm letting
Oh
you know
right,
before you do something to me that I cut you off,
bro. We
that
was
if
having
this
this
ever happens,
conversation.
chances are you're gonna get cut off. Yeah.
We were just having this conversation slightly before, um, right before we started recording, and I was just saying I was talking to somebody and we had a problem. I was like, you know what? I'll give it one more time because sometimes I know I have the tendency to be quick to just cut it to the quick, like
Yeah.
just be done with it. So I want to make sure I'm not tripping. It's funny because I had another situation like that um, in the past few weeks where I had to call one of my friends. I had to call Ed and be like, I just want to make sure I'm not tripping because I know what my tendencies are. My tendencies be, all right, cool, I'm done with it. And should I be more open minded? Was it as bad, or am I taking it worse than what it was? And so, know yourself, basically.
Yeah. Know yourself. Know yourself. And I mean, and it's important that for me, this is the way I see it. It's important that you know and set boundaries when you don't have to,
Uh huh.
because it's like you have a better opportunity to assess what may or may not happen, what may or may not go wrong, and you can set fair boundaries and you can communicate fair boundaries. But when you get to a point where something's happened and then you have to realize, man, did they really cut me as hard as they just cut me? Oh, that can't be the case, because then now you only reacting, you're not acting, or you're not what's the other word, reacting or responding. You're not responding. You're reacting. You're like, okay, I feel violated. Because I feel violated, I got to get you back. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So yeah. Um, and then again, like you were saying, that boundaries for self love. It's like, if you know that you're a person that gets sucked in easily, you set boundaries too hard. By the way, I
I
just thought
do.
about that. Yeah, you do. I just thought
What
about
you?
it, but
What does
that's
that
okay.
mean?
We ain't gonna go there. We ain't gonna go there.
I was actually gonna go into, well, unless you had something to
No, go
finish,
ahead. Go ahead.
because I was just gonna say, because I feel like lately I've been even more on the setting boundaries type of stage, or not stage, but like in a place of setting boundaries
Uh huh.
and establishing what relationship looks like.
Uh huh.
Uh, which was interesting because you were talking, well, the whole self love angle basically
Uh huh.
is, I feel like it's easy, at least for some people, a person like myself, at least in the past, where, oh, I want to keep the peace, and my version of keeping the peace is just keeping it to myself.
Yep.
And, oh, I don't want to, like, seem like, oh, this person did something minor, and I'm just blacking on them. Like, oh, don't do that, none of that. I don't want to seem like, oh, that's somebody you can't really talk to, because if you do something simple, it'll look like this. But what I've learned, just through living life a little bit, you feel me,
Okay.
is that setting boundaries, even if the boundary seems drastic in the moment, respect comes from it on the
Right.
other side of that.
Mm-hmm.
If it's something simple, it's like, yeah, it's something I could have let go, but I'm going to address it. People will respect. You'll get more respect for addressing something than for letting it go by, and to keep the peace. And it's interesting. I had just seen, I can't remember where I saw this at, but it's basically just talking about people and basically human nature, and how a lot of people as humans have the tendency to want to be the nice person. They want to be nice,
Mm-hmm.
and being nice, almost like the good guy syndrome. I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
you understand like the whole concept of being a good guy. I know you've been, out the streets for a long time.
See, there you go playing. We ain't talking about me. We
but
talking about you.
but it's just like being nice for the sake of seeming nice and not being genuine
Right.
And when you're being nice, actually doesn't teach people to respect you
Right. Right.
because as humans we have this instinctive fight or flight within us.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're just the same way, the same nice, let everything slide all the time, it doesn't actually make people like you more. It it teaches that person your pattern, and
Mm-hmm.
it becomes easier to dismiss that.
Right. Right.
You're not a full
You're
if
inauthentic.
right. And so if you showcase the complexities of who you are and like, oh, I'm not always just safe and nice, it actually causes people to respect you more and to pay you more attention. Whereas if you're just somebody that's running a repeating pattern, people subconsciously overlook you.
I know you had some practice with that. Okay, yeah. I, I'm sorry, not from you, but I'm just thinking about
I don't know. I didn't take it
relationships.
that way.
Okay, yeah, because
Yeah.
you got some people that are vanilla. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And it's like, it's funny. Did you see you saw Coming to America too?
I didn't.
Okay,
But I
well,
heard her talk about it.
all right. So Coming to America one, there's this point in Coming to America one where Eddie Murphy was, they brought him a bride, and it's funny because he would ask her a question and he'd be like, What's your favorite food?" And he'd be like, "Whatever you like."
Uh-huh.
Or what's your
Yeah.
what's your favorite song or whatever you like, and it was all about whatever he liked is what she liked, and that was the thing that turned him off
Right.
about her.
It
It was
kind of
like,
is like
who are
you're
you?
just telling me that I don't really need to pay you any attention because you don't have anything to offer.
Right. Oh, and I got another one for you. This is funny. It's a movie called Runaway Bride, right? Runaway
Runaway
Bride
Bride,
was
heard of
Julia
it.
Roberts. Huh? You heard of it?
Heard of it.
Okay, yeah, with Julia Roberts. And that was the thing about in Runaway Bride. Richard Gere played, I think he was a reporter or something. He was doing a story on her or whatever. And what he realized was that every guy that she dated, her favorite food was their favorite food. Her favorite activity was their favorite activity. And so what
Uh-huh.
it boiled down to was she was never being authentic. She was never being herself. She was actually being vanilla. She was actually being a chameleon, and whoever she wanted to be in a relationship with, she became who that person wanted to see in order to be in a relationship. But when it came down to her actually making that final commitment of getting married, she could not make that final commitment
Cause it's
because she was
like
never
you
really
don't
being
know me.
herself.
I'm
Yeah,
not.
you don't
It's
know
not
me.
a real investment here.
Right, right, right. So that's interesting. And so when it comes to again when it comes to boundaries, like knowing, hey, ahead of time before you get into the thick of things, knowing, okay, this is what I'm gonna stand for. This is not what this is what I won't stand for. This is how far I let somebody go with me or go on me or go to me or through me or whatever. And that's it. And I'm cognizant about it. I'm making this in a place from sound mind and good judgment, and I'm gonna communicate it to you so that you'll understand, so that we then know if you cross a boundary, you did it knowingly and willingly.
And I like the way that you approached that just now because I do feel like boundaries is more of an internal thing than an
Mm-hmm.
external thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You setting boundaries is more so setting boundaries for yourself than for others.
Right.
This is what I will allow. It's not this is what I won't take from you.
Right.
Like no,
Right.
my boundaries are my boundaries, and that's because I've taken the time with myself to look into myself. How do I feel about these things? And I've established how I feel about that. And so, since I clearly know because I've done that work with myself, I can clearly tell you where I stand on these
There you
things
go.
ahead of time.
There you go.
And which that's one of the things where it's hard to. Well, I guess, and I feel like I've said this before, but one of the things that I like that you told me at one point is I can tell you what I said then because I know what my response will always be to that.
Yes.
It's something like I know how I feel about that, and so I can tell you what I said then. And when you said that, I was like, that makes so much sense because it wasn't the situation to me. I already knew what the boundary was there. I already knew what the principle was there.
Yep.
I'm not changing how I feel from situation to situation. Because when you run into that, just on the other side, somebody setting boundaries and it's not really based on anything concrete. It's like I
Mm-hmm.
don't really know where I can be within this. I don't know where to go with this because you can be any type of way, any kind of day.
Who gonna show up today? Oh, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? What if I don't like you to
Right.
show up today? How do I have to feel about that? Yeah, yeah, that's cool. I was as you were talking, the earlier part of what you were saying, man, I was really having flashbacks to eons ago. But I can remember not necessarily even being in a relationship with these people, but being in the vicinity of these people and around them, you know their boundaries, right? And
Uh,
even somebody for me who was a hardhead or a knucklehead, right? Um, when I went around those people, I respected the boundaries that they set. And I
right.
respected the boundaries because I respected them. And so
Exactly.
I even as I'm talking to, as I talk to youth and young adults, I try to tell them the same thing. It's like, you know, people you'll know if they respect you or not based upon how they respond to the boundaries you set for yourself, or how they respond to your emotional being or your emotional self. Like if somebody knows that say for instance T doesn't like cursing, right? But when
Uh,
they're around him, they curse incessantly. They really don't care
that's
much about.
disrespect.
Yeah, you see what I'm
Right.
saying? And so that's the kind of thing, or like um, we've talked about like in it before, like we used to have to drink out the kiddie cooler, right?
Uh,
But we had friends that they indulged in drinking, and they knew we didn't, and so it wasn't that they were like. I mean, we didn't require them to not drink. We just know when we went over there, we were going to be drinking waters and sodas, and so they always made sure that there was enough water and soda for us to drink when we got there, because they knew our boundaries and they
it's a
respected those
respect thing.
boundaries. Yeah, and so I think those are the best relationships and the most authentic of relationships when you can have somebody that hear your boundary, receive your boundary, and respect your boundary, because they know that that's the best part of a relationship is give and take. You know what I'm saying?
And it's interesting because based on some things that you were saying before earlier, it gave me this, I guess, the visual, which I don't know if you would call it a saying or not, but ignorance of the law is no excuse.
Yep, I do.
And so it gave me that visual of our boundaries and ignorance of the law is a no excuse thing, or that has to be clearly detailed to each individual.
Say that again.
Is so with the boundary,
Uh-huh.
is it ignorance of the law is no excuse? Just because you don't know my boundary doesn't mean that you hit, like, if you don't hit the boundary, it's not a problem, or is it a you have to make sure that you go out of your way to let every person know?
Okay, so
How
let me
would you
try to
approach
unpack
that?
that. Let me have that. I think I'm gonna unpack it using what you said a little while ago when you said that somebody did something and you said I'm gonna give them grace,
Right.
right? Because what you want to do is you want people to be able to see you and have a level of respect for you based upon who you are. Like, say for instance, if you're around people, right, and you never curse, and like they curse and you don't even respond in the curse word, you know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? You never curse.
You could
That should be a
have.
clear, huh?
You think that's a clear sign?
Yeah, that's a clear sign that I mean, this dude don't curse. I mean, and I think that we should be authentic enough that people see our lifestyle and understand our lifestyle in that manner. But
Hmm.
here's the thing: the other thing I tell your mom all the time, I'm like, but a person has to be considerate. A person has to consider in order to be inconsiderate. And so you
Right.
got some people that are so tuned into self that they really don't pay attention
They
to
really
those
don't
social
pick up on
cues.
that, so they
You know what I'm
actually you
saying?
have to tell them.
You have to tell them. You have to be like, hey, let's check this out. I know you in, but that ain't my feel. And so from now on, when you at least with me, can we just abstain, forego, however it is, but you give them that grace, right? Because you realize that hey, I tried to show them who I was, they didn't see it, so I'm going to articulate it so that they can see it. Now, second kick of the mule ain't no education. So if they
Hmm.
then come back and they do something to violate that boundary, now you know that it's clear that they've heard you say it and they did what they wanted to do anyway. And again, you got to give them a right to do what they want to do, just like you just can't do it with me.
Right. And I don't know if you saw me laugh earlier,
I did.
but it was just funny because I like what you said, and I think what you said was basically the stance that I kind of had on it when I was thinking about that question. Is ignorance of the law no excuse when it comes to boundaries? Ignorance of your boundaries is no excuse. But your thought of I'm going to extend grace,
Mm-hmm.
and the reason I laughed was because, like, literally, it's like a few days ago, I had a conversation with someone, and I said, basically, that don't work for me. And I know that you don't know me like that, and so I'm
Mhm.
not gonna hold you for it. Like, I'm not really gonna count that against you. But I'm just letting you know, don't do that again
Yeah.
with me. And so that was just funny because that's exactly what that was. Like, I know that you didn't know that boundary, so I extend grace. And now I'm letting you know that boundary. So it's clear now. You're free to do it again if you want to. That
Right.
doesn't work for me though.
Right. Right.
And if you don't, that's cool. We can move on easily. Like, the relationship's fine. So it was just funny that you said that.
And I think that's the next order, the next level of thinking as well. Is that for us as people getting to the place where we give people a right to do what they want to do. Like
Exactly.
I give you a right to do what you want to do. I just want you to know you ain't gonna do it to me or around me or through me.
Right.
You know what I'm
It's
saying?
don't do it. It's saying that doesn't work for me.
Yeah, it don't work for me. Don't work
Do
for
what
me.
you want to do wherever you want to do it, as long as it's not to me.
Right. And if you do it to me, then you already know that I got a problem with that. And so we're going to handle that
Exactly.
just like that. And I think that's a matter, and that's why I think that's the important part of being able to share your boundary with someone. Because the thing is, you're going to feel the way you feel when it happens. You already know this. So
Exactly.
not sharing that doesn't stop it from happening. Not sharing it just means that you're going to suffer when it does.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think boundaries are important. And like I said, when I was reading this thing, and it was a devotional, so it talked about how boundaries were even biblical. You know what I'm saying? Because most people feel like, well, I don't need to have boundaries because God's taking care of me, God's looking over me, and all this. And it was sharing that clearly having boundaries was biblical. How it was talking about how Jesus had boundaries. Like there was times when no matter what people wanted or needed from him, he set aside time to go talk to the Father. You know what I'm saying? He had
Mhm.
those boundaries. And so just understanding that is it don't mean I love you any less. I mean, sure, I got boundaries for you. You know what I'm saying? Like when you was
Mhm.
talking that crap earlier this week with your mom, I'm like, so I'm laughing at him, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, I was. I was laughing hard too. And they just come in, they call me everything. Your grandma was talking trash to me. I don't care. He should take his medicine. Yeah, I did. So, but my thing is, like, I have boundaries for you. I hope you have boundaries for me. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Because it's like,
That's
and
what makes it a real relationship.
that's what makes it a real relationship. Because the opposite, I think, of boundaries is imposition. You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? That's the opposite. Because it's like I think it was you didn't like people patting you on the top of your head, right?
Well, that is the thing that I don't like.
Okay,
Is there a
so
specific scenario that you're thinking of?
well, a whole bunch of them when you were growing up, like because you were so short, people always like patting you on the top of your head, and I know you
Mm.
always felt
I
uncomfortable
don't
with
like
that.
when people lean on me, but
Oh,
I don't like that in general
so
either.
so, so
But patting on top of the head, I feel like that's disrespect no matter what.
okay, well, all right, so let's see who's
I
leaning on
mean,
you
you
then.
hear where I stand.
I do, but that's my point. So my thing is, so if you don't tell somebody, it doesn't mean that it makes you feel it doesn't make you feel any better about it. You know what I'm saying? It don't mean that it don't bother you just as much. It don't mean that it doesn't tear you up inside every time it happens just because you don't tell them. Matter of fact, it tears you up the same. You telling them just gives them an opportunity to participate in your healing, to participate in your, feeling good about being around them. And that's what I think the thing is. It was setting boundaries, right? Setting the boundaries, again, it is not about punishing somebody. It's about love. It's about, I love being around you. But if you want me to be comfortable around you, don't lean on me.
Exactly. I
So
had
do I
a
lean on you? Do I lean
do
on you?
you lean
I
on me?
got I got a
I
picture.
don't know.
This is funny. I
I
got
mean,
a
I'm
picture,
sure you've done it before.
but I ain't make you feel uncomfortable today.
Sometimes when you do it to be obnoxious, then I'm like, I want to fight him.
Oh, well, I
But
probably
like,
do it so you will fight me.
right, that's what I was like. So that's just like that's understandable because we just be antagonizing each other.
Yeah.
But
I
like, I had a friend,
oh, go ahead.
or I was gonna say, I had a friend back. I guess it was a while ago. It was like freshman, sophomore year. That it was sophomore year. That we would go to parties together.
You partied?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I'm
ain't
sorry.
no
Go ahead.
shame
Go
in my game.
ahead. Hey, I'm just going to hit, man. Go ahead. Go ahead. Uh huh.
Um, but he always leaned on people.
Mm-hmm.
and which that was just him. He just leans on people like at parties and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't even like some drinking thing because neither one of us drink,
Yeah.
but he like would lean on other people, and then he started leaning on me as he got more comfortable. I had to tell him like, "Hey, you can't do that because it makes me
Yeah.
want to fight you. I'm not gonna."
We- Yeah.
And we're
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
You're my friend, and that just don't make me like you right now.
Yeah.
And so he's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, okay, my bad, my bad."
And he respected that, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. That's what it's all about. Because when people can respect that, then you know, oh, this relationship can go a little further. I'm gonna say, man, that's one of the best things, man. Well, I think that's one of the good things that came out of COVID is people had to give you your social distance now. Because
Mm.
that's one thing I don't like when people don't give you your social distance, man. They be all up on you, man. And that's what made me want to fight people. People walk all up on my back and stuff like that. That made me
When
feel
people stand up
uncomfortable.
right up on you and all that.
Yeah, yeah, I don't like that. I don't like that. You got to give me enough room to swing on you if something go wrong. You know what I'm saying? Don't get too close to me. And so, though this is not talking about physical boundaries from that perspective, it's still a matter of I think that's again, it's giving people opportunity. It's knowing yourself enough to think about what your um, what makes you feel uncomfortable, what sets you off, what puts you in some sort type of way, and being able to frame it in such a way that you can share it with somebody else, so that they'll know, hey, this might be an area you want to stay away from because if you cross that area, that's an area where I tend to lose my mind.
And I mean, the easy way that I guess I see that I just look at it, look at boundaries is it's just that simply you teach people how to treat you.
Yep, yep. We teach
And
people how
so
to treat us. That's it.
exactly. And so if something happens and you wouldn't like to be treated that way, just say something.
Right,
Now you set a boundary.
right. That's it.
You
That's
just
it.
teach people how to treat you.
And again, they have a right. Now they got a right to ignore you. They have a right to ignore you.
They do.
But then at that point, you got a right to react to that ignoring you the way you
Uh,
want to act. You know, you ignore me, I get ignorant.
uh, you
I
just
like
crazy.
that. but it's true. It's true. Because again, I don't ever want to take away a person's right, but I do want to articulate where we stand on this issue and let you know that if something runs awry, I've already warned you. I've already told you that was going to happen.
I was talking to somebody in church today. He said, "Man, I was half crazy at your age." I said, "That sounds like something that my dad would have told me."
I wouldn't have. I was old.
Uh,
I thank God all the time that you ain't me, bruh.
yeah,
As hard a time as I gave you. But that's why I gave you a hard time because I didn't want you to turn out to be like me. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
well, yeah. You have any other thoughts on boundaries?
Nah, man, I think that's it. I think that's it. It's love and it's self love.
It's love and self love, love for others and yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
You just teaching people how to treat you.
That's it. You teaching
How can
people
we
how to
all
treat you.
respect each other?
There it is. Can't we all just get along?
Can't we all just get along?
All right, well, sir. I hope this week is better than last week.
I hope so too. I'm not gonna lie. Last week was a lot.
Yeah, yeah. It was heavy, man. It was heavy. Last week was heavy for real. It's amazing, man. I was just telling your mom earlier, man. Like literally, because you don't know where we live, right?
Right.
Literally,
I haven't even seen it yet.
no, you haven't. But the golf course is in walking distance. Like literally, like literally, I can walk in about 10 minutes and be walking inside the clubhouse on a stroll, and I ain't been to the golf course.
Oh, so he's like, that's how you know the week's been heavy.
Yeah,
I
that's
was
how
like,
you
that's
know.
gonna be all your lunch breaks.
Yeah, man, for real, for real. So that's how you know it's been heavy, man. Because I ain't even. I mean, if I jump in the car, man, I'm at the golf course in 3 minutes, man. Easy, easy. 2 minutes, easy. But I just haven't had the time, man. And it's a nice golf course. I done played it before,
That's
so
nice.
it ain't even like a little Rudy Poot thing. It's
Was
it's
it
the
par
real
three,
deal.
par five?
No, man, it's a real. It's a Goshen Plantation. I didn't say the name. Scratch the name. It's a great golf course, man. It's a great golf course. But no, it's not par three. It's a real golf course. 18 holes, the whole nine, man. Just haven't had time. Just haven't had the time, man. But I'm gonna make the time because I need a vacation.
I feel that.
It's been a lot going on. It's not gonna be going on, but we're great. We're great. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I'll see you Friday sometimes. Or Saturday.
Oh, yeah, Friday.
Yeah, Friday.
Why, were you going to come on Saturday instead?
No.
I feel like that would have been a lot.
Friday.
Okay, I was going to say.
No, I'm coming on Friday.
Oh, that's what you meant? Oh, you'll see me on Friday.
Okay, well, that's what I meant, yes.
Yeah. You'll see me on Friday.
All right. Well, Bum Podcast.
Bum Podcast.
Between you and me.
Between you and me. Holla.
Holla.